Good day. Good morning. Welcome to the D. Louise book series. I'm Christina KRS TINA. This is where we read books and talk about books. No special effects going on here. Very, 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 very low talent channel. I wish I had the ability, capability, technology to do the stuff that some of the other channels do. But I'm also afraid of copyright issues. So, what you see is what you get with me. Um, this I'm a series person. I like series. I like series progression. We are currently doing Victoria Thompson's Gaslight series, James Patterson's Alex Cross series, J.R. Ward's Black Dagger Brotherhood series. We just finished up Julia McQuinn's Time series. And of course, we do Star Trek Next Generation every single Friday recaps. We did The Perfect Mate, we did Imaginary Friend, and today we're doing The Borg. Season 5, Disc 6, Episode 223. And I will tell you that Voyager's Borg are so much better. So much better than this Borg is Star Voyager's Borg is so much better. That's all I can say about that. And they keep forgetting that all the Borg has done and will do and has done to millions and billions and billions of people. Of course, this particular situation ends differently for Seven of Nine. So just think about if they had done this with Seven of Nine, or with the Borg here. How it's the same, almost not quite same, but it's a similar situation, and they converted Seven over. Two different situations, but it almost fits. It's a very similar story in relation to everybody getting to know, but Seven resisted a hell of a lot longer than he did. But she was assimilated when she was a very, very small child. We don't know when Hugh was assimilated. Um, so we start the episode off with Captain's overview. Captain's log stardate 45854.2. The Enterprise is charting as 6-star systems that make up the Argola cluster, an area being considered for colonization. Maybe they will rethink that colonization after this episode. So then they're all looking at this sun. Uh, Riker says, very impressive. Troy says, it's beautiful. Data says, I'm detecting a transmission emanating from the system. Riker says, what sort of signal? It's a self-repeating of unknown pattern, Data says. Where's it coming from? Picard asks. A small moon orbiting the fourth planet. Life signs? Picard asks. Indeterminate. I am attempting to screen out sensor interference. Readings are still inconclusive. However, the moon's atmosphere is capable of supporting life. Riker says it could be a distress call. You think? Helm, take us into transport range. Dr. Crusher, meet me in transporter room 2 with a medical away team. Acknowledged. Okay, question. Riker said, meet me in transporter room 2 with a medical away team. So is the away team hanging out in the transporter room? Because they didn't go down with her. It's Worf, Riker, and Dr. Crusher. She went alone. Where's the medical team? Are they still in the transporter room? I'm just asking. So they do a survey of this planet and they find Hugh. So there they are, examining all the bodies. And there he is, our Hugh. Um, so Riker reports back into the captain. Riker to Enterprise just taps it, and it knows automatically who he wants to talk to. It knows that he automatically wants to talk to the bridge. Go ahead, number one. We found the wreckage of a small craft. One survivor. It's a Borg male adolescent. He's badly hurt. Sir, there's no indication of other Borg activity within the sensor range, Data says. Picard says, away team prepared to return the ship. And Dr. Crusher says, Captain, we can't. We can't leave him here. He won't survive. He's Borg. We will assimilate you. Resistance is futile. There's millions and millions of Borg, and they have assimilated millions of planets, and millions of people have died. And she's feeling, because the rest of the crew is like, the needs of the one outweigh the needs of the many, or the needs of the many outweigh needs of the one. And they all get touchy-feely. 7 was better. Everything about 7 was better. But we all get touchy-feely, and we want to save his life, and they're all thinking, but this is the Borg, and they've done all these things, but he's a human being who's mostly machine now. And she's like, we have to give him a chance, get him stabilized. And Picard's like, your concern is noted, Doctor, but any intervention on our part would alert the Borg to our having been here. Crusher says, I'm afraid we've turned that corner already. Worf says, kill it now. Make it appear it died in the crash. Leave no evidence that we were ever here. Picard's security measures must be taken before we beam it on board. So he changes his mind. He lets Beverly talk him into beaming Hugh or the Borg up to the ship. And they're gonna put a force field around the detention cell, which I thought was already there. I thought they already had force fields around the cell anyway. We've seen other people in the brig before. So, Captain informs Geordi that they're bringing the Borg on board and that they need to neutralize his homing signal and prevent it from sending or receiving transmissions of any kind. Geordi says they'll set up a subphase dampening field around the detention cell. And Worf had surveyed the spot. He comes back and says there were 4 more bodies, but no one else was alive. So they transport him directly up to the cell. Okay. So all the decisions have been made, and Picard says he can come aboard. They're going to put him in the detention cell, etc., etc., etc. So now it's hitting him, right? And he just walks off the bridge. Just walks off the bridge and goes into his room. He did not say, Data, you have the bridge. He didn't say that. Riker's down on the surface, and he left. And when he leaves, Data sits in the chair. He doesn't get up and assume command for the few minutes that, he just sits there. He just leaves. He doesn't tell Data to assume command at all. So then Troy gets up and has to have a chat. So Troy comes in. I I just wondered if there was anything you wanted to talk about. I don't think so, Counselor. I would have thought having a Borg on ship would stir some feelings. I've quite recovered from my experience, thank you. Sometimes even when a victim has dealt with his assault, there are residual effects of the event that linger. You were treated violently by the Borg, kidnapped, assaulted, and mutilated. Counselor, I very much appreciate your concern for me, but I can assure you it is quite misplaced. I have carefully considered the implications of having a Borg on this ship. I weighed the possible risks, and I'm convinced that we are doing the right thing. Now, I'm quite comfortable with my decision. I see, Troy says. Well, if at any point you want to talk more, I shall avail myself of your help, he says. But I think someone else gets in her way. So they got him in the detention cell, and Dr. Trusher is treating him. And they go in. Crusher says he suffered from massive internal injuries. We've been able to control the hemorrhaging, but some of the implants in his brain were damaged. I may have to remove them. Picard says the Borg will die if they're removed permanently. Their brains grow dependent on the biochips. Crusher says perhaps Geordi can construct some new ones. Geordi says they contain relatively straightforward programming interface protocols. We have the files we downloaded after your experience, Captain. I think we can manage them. Mr. LaForge, do you know enough about Borg commanding to alter the pathways to their root command structure? I'm not sure, so the subroutines are pretty complicated. I probably have to study the data processing algorithms. It's the only way I could trace the access codes. If we could get to the root command, we could introduce an invasive programming sequence through its biochip system and then return it to the hive. The Borg are so interconnected it would act like a virus, which would infect the entire collective. We could disable the neural network at a stroke. Infect it. You make it sound like a disease. Quite right, Doctor. If all goes well, a terminal one. If this works the way I think it will, once the invasion program starts spreading, it will be only a matter of months before the Borg suffer total systems failure. And the Dr. Crusher is questioning the whole thing. 7 of 9s were better. Much better. The creativeness of the Voyager Borg were much better. Okay, so they're all in the observation lounge. Geordi says, if this works the way I think it will, once the invasive program starts spreading, it will be only a matter of months before the Borg suffer total systems failure. Picard asks for comments. Dr. Crusher says, what exactly is total systems failure? Data says the Borg are extremely computer dependent. A systems failure will destroy them. I think we should be plain about that. We are talking about an alienation of entire race. Picard says, which under the most circumstances would be unquestionable. But as I see it, the Borg leave us little choice. I agree, Riker says, we are at war. Dr. Crusher says there's been no formal declaration of war. Not from us, Troy says, but certainly from them. They've attacked us in every encounter. Picard says they've declared war on our way of life. We are not to be assimilated. Crusher says, but even in war there are rules. We don't kill civilians indiscriminately. Riker says there are no civilians among the Borg. Think of them as a single collective being. There's no one Borg who is more individual than your arm or leg. How convenient, Dr. Crusher says. Your point, Doctor? When I look at my patient, I don't see collective conscience. I don't see a hive. I see a living, breathing boy who's been hurt and who needs our help. And we're talking about sending him back to his people as an instrument of destruction. Picard says it comes down to this. We're faced with an enemy who are determined to destroy us, and we have no hope in negotiating a peace. Unless that changes, we are justified in doing anything we can to survive. Security contacts the captain. The Borg is awake. So then the Borg is filling around the room. What's he doing? Dr. Crusher asks. He's trying to find an access terminal so he can interface with the collective. He doesn't understand that the signal has been cut off. Geordi says he's emitting a homing signal and a subspace beacon, but our dampening field is blocking both signals. He's alone, Picard says. For the first time, he's being forced to cope with his environment without the resources of the collective. He must be hungry. The Borg don't ingest food. Their implants can synthesize any organic molecules the biological tissues require. What they need is energy. Picard says arrange to feed it. Geordi says aye. The Forge says I'll have to adapt a power conduit and install it in there. Crusher says if I didn't know better, I think he was scared. Well, yeah. So then, in the middle of all this going on, he has time for some recreation. So Picard and Guinan are doing some of the stuff with the swords. So after they finish their fencing, I don't think I like the sport. Picard says, last week you scored 2 touches, you liked it well enough. Today you were dropping your foil. You keep letting me inside. Ah, but if I lift up, you lunge right underneath. Let's face it, you're better at this than I am. I understand we have a guest on board. Yes, Picard says. Is it wise? Guinan says. I'm not sure, I hope so. I thought I understood you, Picard, but I don't understand this. It was an errand of mercy. He was injured. Dr. Crusher decided for humanitarian reasons to care for him. They're going to come after us. You know that. You, of all people, know that. Picard says, shall we go again? Are you all right? You felt sorry for me. Look what it got you. She attacked him with the swords. They did the swords again. So, look who came to visit. Geordi goes in to install the conduit so he can plug his stuff in to get molecules. And again, I would like to point out that Voyager stuff is much, much better. Alright, so here's a good view. I think Voyager's was much better. Much, 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 much better. Didn't they have a mechanical thing? He actually has fingers. I don't remember the Borg having fingers. Or at least only on maybe on one hand. But I still think Seven's and they had the inocula thing sticking out. I do think Voyager's was better. But Geordi comes in to install the device, and then they have a little chit chat. He actually has a hand here. That's not what the future Borg have. They have that device that sticks into stuff. So Geordi installs the device, which I don't think is too much different. Although Seven had an alcove. Seven had an alcove for a really long time. Then he starts his little speech. We are Borg. You will be assimilated. Resistance is futile. Just look around, pal. You're hardly in a position to make any demands, LaForge says. We must return to the collective. Geordi says, who's we? We are Borg. Yeah, but there's only one of you. Do you have a name? A means of identification? Oh, really? Go watch my Dirty 30 New Year's Eve video for her identity. 3 of 5. There were 5 on your ship. Is that it? Just a number? 3rd of 5, he says. It does kind of suit you. Okay, this is for you. It regulates the power flow to the frequency that you're used to. This connection should fit the coupling on your arm. You're welcome. Let's get out of here. They leave. And he asks them, why do you do this? I'm just a nice guy at heart. You feeling better? You are not Borg. That's right. I hope to stay that way. You will be assimilated, he says. Resistance is futile. Geordi says, that's gratitude for you. Okay, So Jordy and Dr. Crusher are in the science lab. Jordy says, I've been rationing his portions of energy. I think he understands. When he cooperates, he gets fed. If not, like a rat in a cage, Beverly says. Look, if I'm going to figure out his command pathways, I need to learn how he processes information. And the only way I know to do that is by giving him perceptual tests, and for that I need his cooperation. So he can participate in the destruction of his entire species. Excuse me, do you know how many destructions of species he's participated in? How many the Borg has participated in? Millions upon millions upon millions upon millions! So he can participate in the destruction of his entire species. Doctor, I know, we're at war. I'm here to help, but I don't have to like him. Jody says, okay, I think we're ready to transport him. If he gives us any trouble, we can access the force field over there. And they transport him in. So they transport him into the thing. And they talk to him. Um, Third of five, this is Dr. Crusher. Dr. Crusher, this is third of five. Hello. What is a doctor? A doctor heals the sick and repairs the injured. Borg says the sick and injured are reabsorbed, others take their places. Crusher says that this isn't what happened to you. We found you, you were dying, I saved your life. Why? It's my duty to help those who are hurt. You gave us food. Yeah. Is that your duty? Yeah, that's right. Listen, 35. Dr. Crusher here has repaired a lot of the damage to your bio implant. We want to run a few tests, make sure everything's working okay. Tests? I'd like to show you a few diagrams and ask you some questions about them. It's very simple, really. You will be assimilated. Yes, before that happens, could we ask you a few questions? We will answer. Terrific. All right, hang on a few seconds here, third of five. What is your designation? Designation? Third of five. You mean our names? We don't have designations. We have names. I'm Beverly. This is Jordy. Do I have a name? Do you want one? A name. I'm Beverly. He's Jordy. And you? Hugh. Crusher, Hugh. No, wait a minute. That's it. Hugh. What do you think? Hugh. No, not Hugh. Hugh. H-U-G-H. Hugh. Okay, now I'm Beverly, I'm Jordy, and we are Hugh. I find it's like English is the second language. Me, Chris. You are? I'm Chris. You are? That's the same thing in second language classes. This is an apple. What do you call it? We repeat each other's words. This is an apple. This is an orange. Start with, this is a table. Start with rudimentary words that you can show and understand what the meaning is. So they have this big, discussion. Let me see if I can get it now. I don't know if I can get it. I'm not that talented. So he just takes this piece off and hands it to Jordy. So then she does that test. Then she does that Rorsch test with all the different shapes, and he passes. He got 8 out of 8. That blows the top right off the spatial acuity percentiles. And then Jordy's like, can I see your eye? Let's see if I can do this. I've missed it 3 times already. Hold on. So he just reaches up and takes it off and gives it to Jordy to examine. Then we have another conversation. Hugh, when you are assimilated, you will have a similar device. Hugh, do you understand we don't want to be assimilated? Why do you resist us? Because we don't want to live the way you do. Here it is quiet. There are no voices. Other voices? On a Borg ship, we live with thousands of others in our minds, thousands of voices with us always. I think what you're saying is that you're lonely. Here. He puts the eyepiece back on. When you have completed these tests, what will be done with us? We'll send you home. We will rejoin the collective. Oh, I forgot to mention, I was going to say, Seven fought this tooth and nail. She wanted to go back to the voices. She was comfortable with the voices. She had been assimilated so young that she was used to the voices and couldn't. It took her a while to get used to the fact that she was alone. So we'll have to see what happens there. He's different. They're having him react differently. So then Geordie is in 10 forward having a heart to heart with Guinan. Hugh, that's what we call him. You named the Borg? Well, it's easier to have something to call him. Oh, so now you have a Borg named Hugh. Right. And there's nothing like what I expected. How so? I don't know. It's like he's just some kid who's far away from home. You know that you're the second person today to refer to that Borg as though it was some sort of lost child. Anyway, I'm having second thoughts about what we're doing here. I mean, reprogramming like some sort of walking bomb, sending him back to destroy the others. Let me tell you something, Guinan says. When that kid's big brothers come looking for him, they're not going to stop until they find him, and then they're going to come looking for us, and then they will destroy us. And they will not do any of the soul searching that you are apparently doing right now. Then why don't you go talk to him? It might not be so clear cut then, because I wouldn't have anything to say. Then why don't you just listen? Isn't that what you do? She listens. She's a listener. She's a bartender. That's what bartenders do. They listen to your issues. So then Picard comes to the bridge. What is it, number one? We've picked up a vessel on the long-range scanners headed this way. Analysis. The vessel is traveling at warp 7.6, mass 2.5 million metric tons, configuration cubical. The Borg. Its dimensions indicate that it is a scout ship similar to the one that crashed. Interference from the star's radiation will shield us from their senses. We should remain undetected until they enter the system. How long do we have, Picard asked. At present speed, they will arrive in 31 hours, 7 minutes, Data says. So then Guinan goes to talk to the Borg. We are Borg. Aren't you going to tell me you have to assimilate me? You wish to be assimilated? No, but that's what you things do, isn't it? Resistance is futile. Resistance is futile, he repeats. Isn't it? My people resisted when the Borg came to assimilate us. Some of us survived. Resistance is not futile? No, but thanks to you, there are very few of us left. We're scattered throughout the galaxy. We don't even have a home anymore. What are you saying is that you are lonely? What? You have no others. You have no home. We are also lonely. And she gets all touchy-feely. But they have killed millions. They have assimilated millions. They get violent. They will take you all. They do not care. Voyager's Borg are better. What is Geordie doing? I am studying the components in your prosthesis. Why? We're trying to learn more about you. Why? Because you're different than we are. Part of what we do is learn more about other species. We assimilate other species. Then we know everything about them. Yeah, I know. Is that not easier? Maybe it is. It's just not what we do. Why? All right, think of it this way. Every time you talk about yourself, you use the word we. We want this, we want that. You don't even know how to think of yourself as a single individual. You don't say, I want this or I am Hugh. We are all separate individuals. I am Geordie. I choose what I want to do with my life. I make decisions for myself. For somebody like me, losing that sense of individuality is almost worse than dying. Seven didn't feel this way. In the beginning, 7 of 9 did not feel this way. And I'm wondering if all of this has to do with the dream sequence. If you remember, and we will talk about it when we get there, one of the episodes had 7 of 9 meeting other Borg participants in the dream world. Um, so we'll see how that goes. But he says that when they're asleep, they're alone. But in this other 7 of 9 Voyager episode, they were all meeting in the dream world on another plane of existence, I guess they called it. Um, so then we're in the observation lounge. That's it, Captain. It looks harmless enough. We had to disguise it as something innocuous. The Borg have ways of screening out programming anomalies. Now, this is not what Janeway did in her episode of the Borg. Um, The Borg have ways of screening out program anomalies. How can a geometric form disable a computer system? The shape is a paradox, sir. It cannot exist in real space or time. When Hugh's imaging apparatus imprints this on his vital chips, he will try to analysis. He will be unsuccessful and will store the shape in his memory banks. It will be shunted to a subroutine for further analysis. Then when the Borg download his memory, it will be incorporated into the networks, and then they'll try to analyze it. Data says it's designed so that each approach they take will spawn an anomalous solution. The anomalies are designed to interact with each other, linking together to form an endless and unsolvable puzzle. Quite original. How long before a total system failure? Not until the shape has gone through several hundred computation cycles. When can we begin the process? Another 20 hours, Geordi says. Dr. Crusher wants to make sure the new implants have taken hold. Very well, begin as soon as you are ready. Captain, I have to admit, I'm having second thoughts about this plan. In what way? I've been getting to know him, the Borg. I see. He's not what I expected, Captain. He has feelings. He's homesick. I don't know. It just doesn't seem right using him this way. And then the captain brings up centuries ago when laboratory animals were used for experiments, scientists would sometimes become attached to the creatures. This would be a problem if the experiment involved killing them. I would suggest that you unattach yourself from the Borg, Mr. LaForge. And that was a really cruel thing to say. Really, really cruel. I don't like animals being tortured at all. Not all. Not used for experiments at all. No, no. 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. So then Guinan is now having second thoughts herself, and she goes talks to the captain. No thank you. I was thinking about how you said the other day that my foil was dipping, that I should get some exercise and strengthen my arm. Well, a strong forearm is certainly an advantage in fencing and bartending. About the Borg, aren't you at least a bit surprised by him? Surprised? Guinan says, did you know he has a name? The Forge gave it to him. His name is Hugh, and he's lonely. I don't know what made me go to see him. LaForge said I should, but I said no. And then suddenly there I was standing there staring at him. I thought it was just curiosity, just curious. I need to hear you say that you're sure you're doing the right thing. Picard says, if you're here to persuade me not to use the invasive program. No, I think I need you to persuade me. 2 days ago you were upset about the Borg even being on the ship, that you tore my foil out of my hand, and now you're questioning whether it should be treated as the enemy. No. When you talked to him face to face, can you honestly say you don't have any doubt? I haven't talked to him. Why not? I saw no need. If you're going to use this person, it's not a person, it's a Borg. If you are going to use this person to destroy his race, you should at least look him in the eye once before you do it, because I'm not sure he is still Borg. Because it's been given a name by a member of my crew doesn't mean it's not Borg. Because it's young doesn't mean that it's innocent. It's what it is, and in spite of efforts to turn into some kind of pet, I will not alter my plans. Fine, but if you don't talk to him at least once, you may find that decision harder to live with than you realize. So Worf, they beam him into the captain's office, and then Worf leaves, and him and Hugh have a talk. So right off the bat, he recognizes Picard as Locutus of Borg. Why are you here? This primitive culture, I'm here to facilitate its incorporation. Identify yourself. Hugh. Identify yourself. We are Hugh. This is not a Borg identification. 3 of 5. This culture will not be assimilated. This culture will be assimilated. They do not wish to be, Hugh says. Irrelevant. They will resist us because this resistance is futile. Resistance is not futile. Some have escaped. They will be found. It is inevitable. All will be assimilated. Must Geordi be assimilated? Yes, Picard says. He does not wish it. He would rather die than be assimilated. Then he will die, Picard says. No, Geordi must not die. Geordi is a friend, because you will assist us to assimilate this vessel. You are Borg. You will assist us. I will not. What did you say? I will not. Geordi must not be assimilated, but you are Borg. No, I am Hugh. And this again twigs at the old heartstrings. So we're back in the observation lounge. I think I deliberately avoided speaking with the Borg because I didn't want to get in the way of our plan. But now that I have, he seems to be a fully realized individual. He even has accepted me as Picard, captain of the ship, and not as Locutus. So you've reconsidered the plan? Yes, to use him in this manner, we'd be no better than the enemy that we seek to destroy. So I want other options. We could return him to the crash site. We'd have to remove his memory of being on the Enterprise. But if we erase his memory, who he is or who he has become would be destroyed. Isn't that the point? He'd be reassimilated into Hive without question. Does that seem right to help him become an individual, then take it away from him? Geordi says. Crusher says, is there any danger that the Borg might destroy him if they find out what's happened? I doubt it. There'd be nothing to gain. It's more likely that they would simply wipe out his memories of those experiences. Then either way, his memory would have been erased. Perhaps in the short time before they purge his memory, the sense of individuality will be gained here might be transmitted to the entire Borg collective. Every one of the Borg has been given the opportunity to experience feeling of singularity. Perhaps that's the most pernicious program of all. They know the knowledge of self being spread throughout the collective. In that brief moment might alter them forever. We leave his memory intact. I have a question. What if he doesn't want to go back? So Geordi and the captain go talk to Hugh. A Borg rescue vessel is approaching. It will be here within 3 hours. We can return you to the crash site where they will find you and take you home. Or if you wish, you can stay here with us. What I wish is irrelevant. It is not irrelevant, Hugh. It matters to us, Geordi says. No, Borg leaves the collective. If they find I am missing, they will come for me. We will deal with the repercussions later. We must know what you want. There are many. I am one. What I want is not important. Geordi says, do you not understand, Hugh? We're giving you a choice. Choice? Yes, a choice. Do you want to go back with the Borg or stay with us? I could stay with you? We could grant you asylum, Hugh. Choose what I want. I choose to stay with Geordi, but it's too dangerous. They will follow. Return me to the crash site is the only way. Hugh, you think about this. Are you sure? Yes, he says. So Geordi says goodbye to Hugh. He gives him one more chance. Goodbye, Hugh. It's nice getting to know you. Goodbye, Beverly. You saved my life. Hugh, it's not too late for you to change your mind. I must return. Captain, I'd like to go down with him. Geordi goes down. And the experience is that if Geordi goes down with him, they'll ignore Geordi. They'll just, because he's no threat to them or anything, they won't even recognize his presence. So Geordi takes him down. And so Geordi says, well, I guess this is it. So long, Hugh. Goodbye, Geordi. I will try to remember you. Geordi walks away from you, and the Borg come. So they just beam in. They go straight to Hugh. They avoid Geordi completely, ignore him like he's not even there. They collect Hugh. They get rid of the other bodies. And they beam back up to the cube and leave, and that's the end of it. So, I hope you enjoyed this episode of The Borg. Like I said, I think I liked Voyager's episode the better. And So Borg episode well, technical difficulties. Borg episode 223. I hope you will be with us for next week. The Phage. We did Perfect Mate, we did Imaginary Friend, we did Borg, and next week is The Phage. And I hope you will stay tuned later this afternoon for my If Then episode. I work really hard on these episodes, and don't forget to check back Flashback Mondays. Probably 60 or 70 reviews, book reviews there, and of course my daily book reviews where we are doing James Patterson's Alex Cross series. We are finishing up Victoria Thompson's Gaslight series. We are finishing up Jane McConaughey's time travel series, and we are still in the midst of J.R. Ward's Black Dagger Brotherhood series too. Hey, if you have a series suggestion, let me know in the comments. Please hit the like and subscribe. Thank you.